This film begins with a man named Daikichi. At that time, his grandfather, Gojo, passed away, so Daikichi had to go back to his grandfather's house right away. In the yard, Daikichi met a little girl. When she saw Daikichi, she looked very surprised and scared. After that, he went into the house and saw family members he had never met before, who also seemed shocked. The reason they were all reacting like this was because Daikichi looked a lot like Gojo. At that time, all family members were excited to see Daikichi because they had heard he looked just like Gojo. When Daikichi met his mother, he asked about the lonely little girl. His mother explained that the girl's name was Rene, and she was Gojo's child from an affair. That's why Rene was there. Soon after, Daikichi joked with his mother, saying that meant Rene was his mother's younger sister. But she told Daikichi to stop joking and to help get ready for the funeral. At first, Daikichi didn't like how Rene was acting, running around on the day of her father's funeral. He asked his younger sister Kazumi, who was a kindergarten teacher, to teach Rene some lessons. But Kazumi said she was at home, not at work, so she refused. Before the burial, all the family members placed a flower on Gojo's coffin. When Rene saw this, she took some bluebell flowers, which were Gojo's favorite when he was alive. At that time, Rene was struggling but managed to place the flowers in the coffin. After the funeral, all the family members gathered to talk about many things, including who would take care of Rene since they didn't know who her mother was. No one volunteered to take care of her, saying they were too busy, but the truth was they didn't like her from the beginning. Some even thought about sending Rene to an orphanage. Seeing his whole family arguing, Daikichi decided, without thinking much, that he would take care of Rene. Soon after, he went to her and offered to take her with him. Everyone, including his mother, was surprised by his decision. But since no one else wanted to, they agreed and gave Daikichi some documents for Rene. After bringing Rene to his house, Daikichi realized he might have acted too quickly. As a single man living alone, he didn't know how to take care of a child. His mother had warned him that it wouldn't be easy. However, Daikichi decided to stick with his choice. The next day, Daikichi got up and made breakfast for both of them. There, Rene said she was still hungry and asked for more food. Upon hearing that, Daikichi gave her a bowl of rice. Surprisingly, Rene made her own onigiri and shared them with Daikichi. Even though they were just getting to know each other, it was clear that she really liked him. After that, Daikichi took Rene shopping. There were some women who laughed at him because he was in the women's section. There, Daikichi picked out some skirts and asked Rene to go home. But she said they couldn't wear skirts to the playground. At that time, Daikichi hadn't realized that Rene was old enough to need a playground. Then, at night, he tried to find information about the nearest playground by looking through a magazine. However, he got distracted by a picture in the magazine and started daydreaming. Since he couldn't find any recommendations, Daikichi decided to ask Kazumi for help. At first, Kazumi didn't want to help, but the next day she gave Daikichi 3 playground recommendations. Daikichi chose the playground that was furthest away because it offered 24-hour care. He needed this because his work hours were long. He worked at the office from morning until night and could only pick up Rene after work. The next day, Daikichi took Rene to the playground during rush hour when everyone was busy. He had to carry Rene through the crowded streets and then run to get her to school on time. When they got to school, they were already late and asked the teacher to forgive them. After that, Daikichi had to use public transportation again because the playground where Rene went to school was very far from his office. When he arrived at the office, Daikichi was late, which surprised everyone because it had never happened before. On Rene's first day of school, she waited for Daikichi until late at night. She was the last student at the school, which made her sad. But when she saw Daikichi picking her up, she finally smiled again. This routine repeated every day. Every morning, Daikichi took Rene to her faraway school using crowded public transportation. He carried her to school, then went to work and picked her up late at night, making both of them very tired. Eventually, Daikichi made a big decision. He asked to be transferred to a different department with shorter working hours so he could pick up Rene on time. At first, the manager said they had specific rules for employees with children. However, he kept asking for understanding. In the end, his manager allowed Daikichi to move because he was considered a good employee. Even so, His colleagues were disappointed by Daikichi's decision. After that, Daikichi moved Rene to a playground that was closer to their house. On Daikichi's first day in his new job, he felt scared because his new coworkers looked tough and intimidating. They were bigger and stronger than him. But after spending time with them, Daikichi realized they were very nice people. Some of them were fathers who cared for their families. There, Daikichi quickly made friends with his new colleagues because they had similar responsibilities. Meanwhile, at school, Rene, who was usually quiet, finally made a friend named Kaoki. Time went by, and one morning Daikichi noticed his bed was wet. He thought it was sweat at first, but it kept happening. Eventually, he discovered that Rene was wetting the bed. At that time, Rene would change her clothes quickly to avoid being caught. There, Daikichi told Rene she didn't need to be afraid of this. After that, he started reminding her to use the bathroom before bed. However, Rene was scared to go to the toilet alone at night and lied about it. Then Daikichi told Rene she could wake him up to go to the toilet together if she was scared. One night, Rene asked Daikichi if he would die like Gojo. This made Daikichi pause for a moment before he reassured her that he would not die. Rene probably asked because she was scared of losing the people she loved, and Daikichi had become one of those important people to her. Rene then talked about how Gojo lived, because she had spent more time with him than Daikichi had. Then, Rene asked where Gojo was now. To comfort her, Daikichi said that Gojo would always be in her heart. Sensing that Rene was getting emotional, Daikichi suggested they go inside and get ready for bed. Before going to sleep, Daikichi showed Rene a sticker that glows in the dark, so she wouldn't be afraid to go to the toilet at night. The next day, Daikichi picked up Rene from school. Soon after, Cookie's mom, Hinata, arrived to pick up her son. There, Daikichi realized that Hinata was the woman he had seen in a magazine earlier. At first, Hinata ignored Daikichi and greeted Rene, since she was Cookie's close friend. But then Hinata noticed that Rene felt warm and had a fever. Upon knowing that, Daikichi quickly decided to take Rene to the doctor, but he couldn't find a clinic nearby. Seeing this, Hinata offered to take them to her regular doctor. After Rene received treatment and they returned home, Daikichi felt bad for not realizing she was sick sooner. The next day, Cookie and his mom visited Rene again. There, Hinata noticed that Daikichi didn't know how to take care of a sick child properly. He had even given Rene a blanket when she was hot. Seeing this, Hinata removed the blanket and gave Rene some medicine, making her feel much better. After that, Daikichi talked with Hinata alone. He felt like he wasn't a good parent for Rene and explained that he wasn't her biological father. Hearing this, Hinata encouraged Daikichi. She pointed out that Rene's behavior showed that she really loved and cared for him, like he was her real father. After that day, Daikichi and Hinata became closer. Almost every day after work, they would pick up their children and spend time together. One day, Daikichi's uncle, Geito, asked him to come to Gojo's old house. When Daikichi arrived, he met a woman from social services named Kimura. There, Geito asked Daikichi to hand over Rene to Kimura. But after thinking about everything he and Rene had been through, Daikichi refused. Kimura kept trying to persuade him, even during the car ride back. She said that taking care of children is hard and that one day Rene might forget all the good things Daikichi did for her. This made Daikichi very angry. He stopped the car and told Kimura to get out immediately. When he got home, Daikichi was upset and went out again. He returned with some fitness equipment, though it was unclear where he got it from. As he started exercising at home, Rene asked him to tie her hair. Daikichi began talking to her and asked if there was a computer at Gojo's house. Rene said there was, but it was mostly used by Gojo's assistant, Masako. Then, Rene mentioned that Masako was very rude to her and she didn't like her. Upon hearing that, Daikichi was surprised because the name Masako was listed as Rene's mother on her identity documents. At night, while Rene was sleeping, Daikichi opened the book again and found a web address. When he visited the website, he was surprised to discover it belonged to a comic artist named Masako Yozi. Shortly after, Daikichi decided to contact Masako to talk about Rene, but she was very unfriendly. Finally, Daikichi asked Masako to meet in person. The next day, Daikichi left Rene at his parents' house. At first, Rene was very scared because she felt that Daikichi's family didn't like her. Daikichi then went to meet Masako, Rene's biological mother. At that moment, he was surprised to see that Masako was still very young. There, Masako immediately explained that she never wanted Rene and never considered herself to be Rene's mother. Then, Masako explained that when her career was falling apart, she met Gojo, who felt sorry for her and hired her. While working at his house, Masako realized she was pregnant with her boyfriend's child. Hearing this, Daikichi was very upset and asked Masako to take full responsibility for Rene. He asked her how she felt about Rene and if she had any love for her. But Masako couldn't answer. Soon after, Daikichi decided to leave, very upset that Masako had no motherly feelings. But after that, Masako followed him and suggested that if he really wanted to care for Rene, she should use his family name. After meeting Masako, Daikichi picked up Rene from his family's house. Surprisingly, she had gotten along well with Daikichi's family and even asked to visit them again. Long story short, Daikichi asked Rene how she would feel if her last name was changed to Kawachi, meaning Daikichi would officially become her father. But Rene refused, saying she preferred her current last name, Kaga, and wanted Daikichi to stay the same person she knows now. Hearing this, he agreed and felt happy. One day at school, the teacher asked the students to draw their mother and father. Soon after, Rene and Cookie's seats were empty. Soon after, Daikichi was called by the school because Rene and Cookie had run away during class. This made him panic, so he and his co-workers started searching for them. There, Daikichi also called his parents and Kazumi to help look for Rene. At the same time, Hinata was called by the school, so she left work to look for Cookie. Meanwhile, Rene and Cookie were seen walking somewhere, and a man with long hair noticed them and took them into the forest. On the other hand, Daikichi was searching for Rene on a bridge when he saw Hinata and chased after her. However, neither Daikichi nor Hinata found Rene and Cookie, so they eventually went back home. Unexpectedly, Rene and Cookie were at a cemetery. There, Cookie told Rene that when the teacher asked them to draw their parents, he remembered his father who had died. Cookie then invited Rene to visit his father's grave. There, Cookie shared that his mother had been hiding his father's death from him and would pretend to smile even though she was actually sad. Hearing this, they both became sad. Cookie cried for his father, and Rene cried remembering Gojo, who had taken good care of her. The man with long hair, named Kyochi, helped Rene and Cookie find their way to the cemetery. Not long after, Rene and Cookie returned home. They explained where they had been. After hearing this, Hinata cried because she realized Cookie was growing up so fast. Meanwhile, Daikichi hugged Rene tightly, relieved and afraid of losing her forever. There, he told Rene that everyone was panicking and looking for her. After being out almost all day, Rene and Cookie were very tired and fell asleep at Daikichi's house. During this time, Hinata shared her struggles since Cookie's father died. She admitted that she often scolded Cookie, which made him feel sad and quiet all day. Hinata also said she often woke up late, making them late for the playground. She felt sorry for herself and understood why Cookie sometimes got angry and tried to run away. She also scolded him for small things, but knew that Cookie had no one else besides her, so she kept trying to be a better mother. Hearing this, Daikichi shared that he was very scared when he heard Rene had run away. His knees even trembled. He thought being a parent would make him tougher, but instead, he found more things to be afraid of. In the end, Daikichi and Hinata encouraged each other, realizing they both faced similar challenges as single parents. Sometime later, the children at the playground put on a theater performance. At that time, Daikichi didn't know what role Rene would play because she had asked Kazumi and Daikichi's parents to keep it a secret when she practiced at their house. During the show, Rene and all the children performed their roles very well. After the performance, Daikichi sent a cute photo of Rene to Masako. At that time, Masako felt sorry because Rene had grown up to be an adorable child, but she couldn't be part of her life. The film ends with Daikichi waking up in the morning and seeing how Rene has grown and learned to do many things. At that moment, he isn't sure if Rene's sadness from losing Gojo has healed, but seeing her happy is the most special thing for him. After that, every day, Daikichi, Rene, Cookie, and Hinata spent time together before going home. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is if life hands you a surprise kid, just remember that parenting is basically advanced improv comedy. Embrace the mess and chaos, because sometimes the best moments come from not having a clue what you're doing.